Happy New Year! It is 2023, new year, new me, but we are not done looking at the past. Before I do my favorite movies of 2022, today I want to talk about Letterboxd. If you don't know what Letterboxd is, it is a social media platform for people that really like movies. You can log your movies, you can rate your movies, you can review them, you can see what your friends are saying. It is the only social media app where I don't really hate myself after being on it for more than 5 minutes. If you're looking to discover new movies, or if you plan on even watching like more than 10 movies this year, get this app. I think you'll like it. There is one cool feature that I really like about Letterboxd, where you do have to pay for it. I think it's only like $13 or $18 a year, where you can see basically like your stats throughout the year. It's kind of like Spotify Wrapped. You can see the movies you watch the most, the stars you watch the most, the directors you watch the most. The cool thing though is that you don't have to wait till the end of the year to check this out. You can look at this in July. You could look at this in October. You could look at this during your Thanksgiving dinner with your family because they're talking about politics and you don't want to be involved with that. The other cool thing is you can literally see it for all of the other years before. So if you still have your like movie tickets, you could put all of that into Letterboxd, and then Letterboxd will let you know, hey, in like 2018, this is what you watched. So it's pretty cool. It's like a nice little time capsule. So we're gonna start with just how many movies I saw. According to Letterboxd, it says I saw 323 movies, which is quite a lot. That's about 556 hours last year. That's about 27 movies per month, about 6 a week, which sounds about right. I'm not going to share the highest rated movies of 22 because some of those movies are going to be in my top 10 in the next video. I don't want to spoil that. However, I will share some of the stuff that came out before 2022 that I just really liked. So I watched stuff like Spider-Verse, Whiplash, Incredibles, SpongeBob movie, Knives Out, The Shining, Spirited Away, Lego Movie, House, Swiss Army Man, Truman Show. That's just a few of the movies that I saw last year that I just love so much. Let's break down the milestones. So the first movie that I saw in 2022 was Pig, the movie that features Nicolas Cage. Very tender, very quiet. Didn't really mean anything as far as like how 22 would go. It was just something I was rewatching. So yeah. However, I did end the year with a bang. On New Year's Eve, I watched Triangle of Sadness. I also don't want to give away my most watched movies because all 5 of these movies that I watched the most last year are also in my top 10. I don't want to give those away. All right, let's break down genres, countries, and languages. So for genres, I watched a lot of drama films. Obviously, that makes sense. I mean, there's drama in every movie. At least there's got to be. I watched a lot of comedy movies. I watched 104 comedy movies. Now, Letterboxd will say what's a comedy. That I think is a stretch sometimes. I watched Jerry Maguire for the first time last year, and to me, that is definitely not a comedy movie. I also watched 61 animated films. A lot of them were Ghibli or anime films. Most of the films that I watched were set in the US or filmed in the US. I also watched about 39 films that were set in the UK, and I also watched 38 films that were done in Japan. And since most of those films that I watched were either in the UK or the US, obviously that means most of the films that I watched were in the English language. I also watched a good amount of films that were in Japanese. All right, let's break this down. According to Letterboxd, I watched about 118 movies that were released in 2022. Everything else came out before 2022, which makes sense because I was pretty strict on what I was going to watch as far as new releases go. And then I wanted to make sure I was going to watch stuff on my watch list too, which means that a good chunk of the stuff that I saw last year were first time watches. I was going to make sure that I would work on my watch list, and I did. And I'm going to get to that in a second. And as far as reviewing stuff on Letterboxd, it just kind of depends what mood I'm in. I only reviewed about 137 movies. Some of them might have been jokes. Some might have been actual intriguing thoughts on a movie. But yeah, for the most part, I did not review stuff on here. Now, as far as rating spread goes, this is based on the rewatches that I did. I tend to not rate first watches immediately after I see them just because I need time to think, and then I'll give a rating. So these are all rewatches. I only watched 4 movies last year that I gave 5 out of 5. Those were Whiplash, The Incredibles, SpongeBob SquarePants movie, and Spider-Verse. Yes, SpongeBob movie is a 5 out of 5. I will not argue with that. The worst movies that I gave the lowest rating to last year were Blades of Glory and Twilight. Twilight is not a fun movie. I don't care what people say. It is dull and boring. It is not campy. It's not even bad. It's good. It's just bad. I watched 99 movies from my watch list last year. I watched Shawshank Redemption, 2001, Singing in the Rain, Sixth Sense, Goodfellas, Matrix, Eyes Wide Shut, plenty of other stuff. Those are just a few. My favorite that I saw from my watch list, at least in the ones I just mentioned, would have to be Shawshank. Definitely worth the hype. Goodfellas as well. I loved watching that for the first time. I would say some of my least favorite ones that I think might have been overhyped were like Sixth Sense and The Matrix. They're just not for me. Letterboxd will also let you know which stars you watch the most. I'm only going to talk about the 4 stars I watched the most last year, starting with Sigourney Weaver. I watched 6 of her movies. That includes The Village, Avatar, Alien, Aliens, Holes, and Avatar: The Way of Water. My favorite movie out of those was Aliens. She just kicks ass in that movie. That is an incredible movie, great practical effects. My least favorite movie is The Village. I will get into M. Night movies in a second, but I did watch a lot of his movies, so obviously he's going to appear in a lot of them. I watched 6 movies that featured M. Night in them. That includes Sixth Sense, Unbreakable, The Village, Lady in the Water, The Happening, and The Last Airbender. I watched 6 Tim Blake Nelson movies. That includes Nightmare Alley, Holes, Lost Ollie, Scooby-Doo 2, Monsters Unleashed, Lot 36, and Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. I would say my favorite out of those is Pinocchio. My least favorite is Lot 36, which is the first episode in the Cabinets of Curiosities show on Netflix. But the actor that I watched the most last year was Bruce Campbell. I saw 7 of his movies. That includes The Evil Dead, Evil Dead 2, Doctor Strange 2, Dark Man, Army of Darkness, Sky High, and Fargo. I would say my favorite was Evil Dead. He is awesome in that. That is a wild, fun movie to watch. My least favorite would probably have to be Sky High or Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which I don't hate either of those movies, but they're good, but nothing crazy about them. Letterboxd will also let me know about the highest rated actors as well. We'll start with Chris Mulkey. He popped up in Captain Phillips and in Whiplash. My next highest rated actor is Jake Johnson, who was in Spider-Verse. Obviously, he was Spider-Man. He's also in the Lego Movie, which I have no idea who he plays in the Lego Movie. I'm gonna have to look that up. My second highest rated actor is Nicolas Cage. He was obviously Spider-Man Noir in Spider-Verse, and then obviously in Pig. Love that movie as well. And finally, my highest rated actor is Marcus Henderson. You may not know who he is. He plays the gardener in Get Out. And in Whiplash, he pops up in the end and he's the bassist. I had no idea he could play bass. I'm assuming he could actually play it because it looks real. So yeah, congratulations, Marcus Henderson. You're my highest rated actor of 2022. Maybe it'll be like this next year. We'll see. Letterboxd will also do the same thing for directors. So that means I saw 5 Hayao Miyazaki movies. The 5 that I watched last year were Princess Mononoke, Spirited Away, Howl's Moving Castle, Ponyo, and The Wind Rises. My favorite is obviously Spirited Away. Love that movie. It is pretty much a masterpiece. My least favorite, which might be a hot take even though I still like the movie quite a bit, is Princess Mononoke. I also watched 5 James Cameron movies. I watched Terminator, Terminator 2, Avatar, Aliens, and Avatar: The Way of Water. It was just kind of a coincidence I was watching James Cameron movies. I wasn't really trying to get hyped for Avatar 2. It just kind of happened to be a coincidence that I watched 5 of his movies this year. My favorite out of these would have to be Aliens. My least favorite would be The Terminator, which is still a cool movie. I also watched 6 Sam Raimi movies. I watched those so I could get hyped for Doctor Strange 2, which was kind of a letdown, but I won't go into that. I watched the Evil Dead movies, Dark Man, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, and Drag Me to Hell. My favorite out of those, once again, is Evil Dead. And then my least favorite out of these, I would have to say Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. And then I got to watch 9 M. Night Shyamalan movies. I don't really have a reason why I watched 9 M. Night Shyamalan movies. I didn't like any of these though. I watched all of his movies all the way up to The Visit, and then I stopped after that because I couldn't take it anymore. And I think I only had 2 movies left, but I was just like, I'm done. Maybe I will rewatch Split and check out Old? Is that the one that comes out after? Oh, and Glass. Yeah, I didn't want to watch those. I would have to say my favorite out of these is The Sixth Sense, even though I wasn't crazy about it. And my least favorite is The Last Airbender. We all know it's not a good movie. My highest rated directors would be Damien Chazelle. I watched Whiplash this year. I also watched Babylon. However, I did not give it a rating in 2022. So therefore, Letterboxd thinks I only gave Damien Chazelle a 5-star movie last year. I won't go into Babylon, but Whiplash, love that movie. I got the steelbook right here. And then the next 3 directors all worked on Spider-Verse. So Rodney Rotham, Peter Ramsey, and Bob Persichetti, according to Letterboxd, my top 3 favorite directors of last year. Letterboxd will also give you a lot of detail about other stuff as far as like your producers, writers you watch the most, composers that were in the most movies you watched. That I don't want to go too much into detail about this stuff. My most liked review is a review I did for Pleasure, which is a movie about a girl who is trying to get a start in the porn industry. This got 4 likes. Thank you to the 4 people that liked this review. And I wrote, put this on Disney Plus, you cowards. That's it. The movie I saw with the highest average, that was the BTS Permission to Dance movie. I watched it with my wife. She loved it. I thought it was whatever, but she loved it. That's all that matters. The lowest average movie that I watched was The Last Airbender. We all know what we think about that movie. The most popular movie that I watched was Knives Out. I love that movie. Might be my favorite movie of 2019. And then the most obscure movie that I watched was United Front, the People's Convention, 1991, Memphis. I got to watch it for the Indie Memphis Festival. Got to help pick some films that were selected for that festival. That movie was one of them. But that's basically it. That is a rundown of some of the stuff that I watched last year. I watched a lot of stuff. Maybe this year I'll try to watch less. But that's basically it. So I'm going to end it here. Thank you so much for watching this. If you have a Letterboxd, let me know what your highest rated director was or your most watched actor was. Do you have any goals this year as far as watching movies? If you have a Letterboxd, follow me. I'll follow you back. If you don't have a Letterboxd, go ahead and make one if you're interested in finding more movies to watch. I will see you guys later with my favorite movies of 2022. Make sure you exercise every day, drink your milk, and have a great day.